All right, I wanted to give some quick thoughts on this because I love that I'm seeing it. I was really worried about this in particular coming into the season, but there's been a quiet, much needed resurgence from Kawhi Leonard. If you're watching him over his last 14 games, he's putting up 23 points, 6 boards, and 3 assists on an impressive 50% shooting and 41% from 3. Now, let's go backtrack a bit. I said I was a bit worried about Kawhi coming into the season. Why? Obviously, he was injured, but there was like this concern for me as a basketball fan. I was wondering, are we ever going to get the all-star version of Kawhi Leonard back? Is there still a world that exists where Kawhi is able to return to being this top 10, maybe top 5 level player? And I'm not saying he's there now, right? But that was a massive concern that I had coming into the season. If we look at Kawhi over the course of his career, he has done some ridiculously impressive stuff. 2 NBA championships, multiple defensive player of the years, multiple all-star appearances, a lot of seasons where we're considering him as maybe a top 3 at worst, top 5 player. We got that at his peak and during his prime, and it just got abruptly cut short due to injuries. Now, the injuries have always kind of nagged Kawhi throughout the course of his career. It's not like this brand new development since getting over to the Clippers, but I don't think there's been a time where he's been more impacted by injuries than now. So coming into the season, again, my concern was I've loved Kawhi over the course of his career, one of the greatest two-way players that we've ever seen. Are we ever going to see Kawhi return to that all-star form where he can be a number 1 option sort of guy on a championship level team? And that's why it's been so refreshing seeing him back to this level. And again, I said it earlier, I'm not saying Kawhi is back to being a top 10, top 5 level guy, but I'm watching him now, and there is a sliver of hope in me that we can see Kawhi once again be a super impactful top option on the offensive end come playoff time. And if you look at what he's done on offense, it has rubbed off as a whole on the Clippers offense. They have seen a massive uptick. They're slowly emerging into being a real two-way threat team. Primarily during the season, they've been known more as a defense first group, and that makes a lot of sense. Like if you look at them for most of the year, they were operating with James Harden and a bunch of other utility players and guys that were kind of thrown in there. I'm not going to take any credit away though from Norman Powell because he was playing all-star level basketball, but before the Kawhi return, this was a team that wasn't stocked up full of all-stars. So when you have that sort of situation, a lot of times you're going to fall back on your defense, and it's great. But what we've seen, as I said, is a massive uptick in overall offensive performance for the Clippers over like these last few weeks. And a lot of that is due to what Kawhi Leonard has been able to do with him returning to this solid, consistent level of play that we've really been missing over like the last year or so. And the Clippers absolutely need this. I was actually talking about this on a pod that I did with a couple of guys a few days ago. Right now, I do look at this Clippers team, if healthy, as a real threat in the Western Conference. I can't say it enough. This is the most open we have seen the league be in a long time. I know OKC's been amazing, and I know Cleveland's been amazing, but it really could be any team like within that top 3 of any conference that could make a legitimate championship run. I don't think there is a definitive team to beat. And so if you look at the Clippers, I think with the way the league is now, there is a world where they can exist as a contender with things being as wide open as they are. And again, I have this faith because they have been back playing great offensive basketball, and you have Kawhi Leonard back and healthy. And this is good to get them back on this level because we have lost faith for this Clippers franchise, reasonably so. There's been like this issue with them having so much talent and not being able to make much happen even with it. Now, for them, a lot of it has been primarily due to injuries. We know there have been seasons in the playoffs where they just weren't healthy and weren't able to make things happen, but there have also been seasons where they were healthy and weren't able to make things happen. Think about 2020. Paul George was healthy, Kawhi Leonard was healthy, Lou Williams was healthy, Montrezl Harrell was healthy, and they still had a really embarrassing second round loss to the Denver Nuggets. I don't need to revisit and go into the specifics about that, We all know what happened. So the Clippers have had this recurring franchise issue, and it doesn't just start here with the Kawhi era. Let's go back and look at the Lob City era, where you have this amazing talent all on your roster with Chris Paul, DeAndre Jordan, Blake Griffin, 3 guys who were all-stars, and a revolving door of other great talented players. Jamal Crawford, who's arguably the greatest 6th man of all time, JJ Redick, a ton of other great players, but just couldn't make anything happen. So what we have right now for Clippers fans is back-to-back eras where you have extremely great levels of talent, but you're not able to make anything happen with it, right? And so like I said, that's why our faith right now in this franchise is limited, and that's why seeing this resurgence for the Clippers and especially Kawhi Leonard is so refreshing for a lot of LA Clippers fans. Now let's backtrack a bit. I want to go back in and talk specifically about Kawhi Leonard. One thing I was kind of thinking about over these last few days when watching him get back on track with this offensive run that he's on, just thinking about how weird his career has been. And I actually have a video where I talked about this on my feed back in the summer. Out of any superstar level player, Kawhi may just have the weirdest career of all time. So if we look at Kawhi, the category that you put him in is like one of those guys who was amazing, but was consistently hurt. That's guys like Penny Hardaway. That's a ton of players throughout the course of NBA history where we know the talent was there, but guys were just not able to stay available and stay healthy. But what's weird and what separates Kawhi from those other guys is he won rings. Right? Like a lot of those players who ran into injuries consistently throughout their careers didn't win championships, but Kawhi did. 2 finals MVPs, one with the Spurs back in 2014 and another obviously in 2019 with the Raptors. But despite winning 2 titles, we seem as fans really unsure where to place Kawhi on like the tiers of all-time great players because of the consistent injuries, right? But even with that, he's someone who's proved this ability to win titles. So how do we talk about him? Where do we put him at? How do we talk about a player who hasn't been available, hasn't played a ton of games? Jeff Green is on the verge of having more career points than Kawhi Leonard, but still he's shown this ability multiple times to win NBA titles. That's just some food for thought. That's something I was thinking about with Kawhi Leonard, just really one of the strangest, most interesting NBA careers of all time, where yes, he's this guy that's consistently hurt, but still it never kept him from actually winning titles. So how much do the injuries lower him on like these all-time lists and all-time debates? So just some food for thought. But regardless of all of that, Kawhi has been on a great run. Again, not dominant and not enough for me to be like, he's back to being a top 5, top 10 player, but good enough to make us faithful, a little bit more faithful than what we were in this Clippers team to actually do something impactful come playoff time. Hopefully he can stay consistent. And most importantly, that is the biggest thing. There is no other barrier right now for the Clippers other than health. I think the talent is there. They are a really good team. Harden's great. Powell's great. You've gotten great play from Ivica Zubac, other role players, and obviously Kawhi is back in the mix, healthy, in shape, but they have to stay healthy the entire way through. But I like this Clippers team. I have a lot of faith in them to make some noise come postseason time. One of those teams right now, those dark horse teams that I don't think a lot of squads in the West want to see in a 7-game series. So again, great to see this from Kawhi Leonard. Hopefully they can stay consistent, and I'm excited to see how the rest of this season plays out for what I think is a really, really interesting Clippers team that can make things very difficult for a lot of squads out West come playoff time.